Welcome back, you guys. I'm Tassie. This is my Shaman Memoirs channel. I am back from Chicago. So a lot has happened. First off, I would like to say, book your appointments, okay? Unfortunately, I don't do any walk-ins. I actually had a client attempt to do a walk-in while I was in the middle of someone else's session. I cannot afford, with my terrible hours as it is, I can't afford to take on walk-ins because people generally don't cancel their appointments. So if you guys are on a wait list, it's the wait list. How it works is if someone cancels the appointment, then an opening appears and you get notified. However, being on a wait list does not mean you get a day in on that time. I have a lot of people sign up on the wait list, and I know my calendar looks terrible, you guys. I'm usually about 3 weeks out. However, I'm telling you, your day comes sooner than you think, okay? Because suddenly you're here for your appointment already. Because usually people don't cancel their appointments. That's just the reality of it. Now, I will say that a lot of people, if you tend to book my later sessions and you're like the last person, usually you get the privilege of, hey, can I extend my session? A lot of people have actually done that. So they'll book an appointment at 7 or 7:30, and then, after their time is up, you're usually my last appointment for that day because my office hours here, I close at 8:30. So then what happens is, your time is up, you still have more things you want to ask about. Can you just extend your session? And then you pay an extra $50. Perfectly fine. I've had a lot of clients do that as well. The only thing is like a lineage test, etc. Usually you have to schedule that because there's things you need to prep for before you can actually do the lineage test. And as a tip, that's usually why people bring extra people with them during their session, because then after they've kind of witnessed the first person's session, then they want to book a session too. So then that's when we will switch gears and focus on the other client, and then we will host their session right after. So just a tip for you guys. I need to put signs up in my office. I keep saying this. I have yet to do it, okay? I need to put disclaimers everywhere. They need to be like hanging from the ceilings. Like that's what I need to do. So my disclaimers is that be careful what you ask for. All right. So I have had several clients tell me that they're surprised during our sessions just how much I tell them. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. And then I've also had a client pretty much say that she's glad she's seen my videos, that I tend to be really direct and that they're used to the way that I talk because my spirit guides are also very direct. They're very direct, you guys. Now, when I say just be careful, because sometimes it's going to be information that isn't always good information that you're going to hear. And a lot of times my spirit guides, they treat things that they tell you as you've accepted the information. So it means in the future, you can't say you never know. Someone didn't tell you because we told you. So if things start to happen, that is out of my hands, okay? Now, if it's something that I think is really bad, I will try not to tell you directly, and I will try to make up a story. Okay, I'll make up a story of somebody we know, and you're gonna have to read between the lines. And unfortunately, I am deemed a catalyst in people's lives. Basically, a catalyst is somebody who comes in and changes the trajectory of your life. I hate being the catalyst in people's lives. Unfortunately, I swear, it's like, that's my fate or something. Because I don't like having that kind of responsibility on people, but I will say, during my sessions, anything I see, hear, feel, I will tell you. Because sometimes it's a message that I can't interpret, but it's meant for you to know. And you will understand it, but I won't understand it. So that's pretty much my sessions. I always tell people, my disclaimer as well, I'm not a psychic. Okay, I am not a psychic shaman. I just appear to be because my spirit guides are very talkative and they tell me a lot of things about people because they like to look into people. They will dig into everything about you. Okay, I can't help it. Okay, so that is, I know that is exactly what you might think a psychic is. However, out of respect to true psychic shamans and even people who are just psychic to truly clairvoyant people. Like, they know what you had for lunch. Okay, they'll just look at you, that Subway sandwich, like they will just know. Okay, I do not know what you had for lunch. I am very interested in what you had for lunch, but I do not know what you had. Like, when I'm around people, I can feel if they are supposed to be, if they're really behind on their shaman journey. I can feel those kind of things. I can even feel if, like, you're supposed to have a boy, but you may not have your boy yet. You may have already had your boy. It depends on where you are in your fate line, but I haven't looked. I don't know. I don't know what you are doing in your career. Sometimes they show me images of things, but sometimes they don't. So that's what I mean by I am not a psychic shaman, because there are true psychic shamans out there who know all those things, and you don't have to say anything, right? I only share with you what my spirit guides tell me, but again, I know that's what a psychic is, but I'm not a psychic shaman. However, you don't want to tell me everything, right? So I do appreciate people coming into my sessions and they just say, like, oh, I have 3 kids and I want you to look at all 3 of them. The first one's a boy, the other 2 are girls. Perfect. No problem. Okay. But I don't need you to give me like their names, their birthday. It's, like all sorts of goodies. Then I will do an overarching spiritual review of them in their life. What are they supposed to fated go into? Partners are supposed to have trust, things like that, Book your sessions. Okay. Like, I have a lot of people who reach out to me and they really just are trying to get in before, like, I understand that, but you have to understand there's also a lot of people who do the same thing. Like, everyone needs spiritual help sometimes. I totally get that. And my hours are very limited. And I know that I should be doing this full time, but that is not yet in my cards. So in time, I will have better hours. But right now, I can only accommodate Monday to Thursday from 5 to 8:30 p.m. Central Time. And I definitely feel those who come into the office, they get a better experience, rather than when it's just virtual. And I love when you guys bring other people with you, because you can bring up to 2 other people for your session as well. All right. So as promised, I wanted to update you guys on my Chicago trip. So literally for our Chicago trip, okay, like, I'm somebody who I hate car rides. All right. Whenever it is a road trip, count me out. I am not, zero interest in a car trip. Okay. Like, road trips is not for me. Okay. I will fly there and I will see you there. Like, so my niece from California, she came. And then I actually had a younger sister from St. Louis. She also came. So we were like, okay, let's drive there. And then, like, cost wise, we were just thinking about it. You know what? It's not worth it. We're flying next time. Okay. Oh, like, okay. It used to be 8 hours to get to Chicago from the Twin Cities, but then Wisconsin ended up upping their speed limit to like 65 now. So you can get there in like 6.5, 7 hours. You're in Chicago. So definitely, when I went to go in Shanghai and looked at our trip going to Chicago, my spirit guides, they said to me, specifically for one sister, okay, I have one sister, they said to ensure she makes it to Chicago and back home safely, there must always be 2 people awake in the car. And originally I was going to drive with my boyfriend, and then my 2 sisters and my niece were going to ride together. However, last minute, my boyfriend couldn't make it. So I'm not going to drive by myself to Chicago. I already didn't want to drive in the first place. So then my sister ended up riding with me and my niece. And I was like, well, I guess it's okay. Like, we'll just have to make sure we're 2 people are always awake, right? So like, her daughter took it very seriously. She would not sleep throughout the whole trip. And traveling on a car ride with a 10-year-old who asks you every 3 minutes how much time has passed. Are we there yet? No, thank you. Anyways, so we're doing the car ride. I start off with me driving us into Wisconsin. About 2.5, 3 hours later, we end up stopping to get some breakfast. And did you know in Wisconsin, McDonald's, they now have the steak bagel, egg and cheese sandwich. And that is my ultimate fast food breakfast sandwich. And they stopped serving it for years. And then now they have it, but only in Wisconsin. And I had no idea, but I was fortunate enough to have gone to McDonald's for breakfast and it was there. But that's not the point of the story. So the point of the story was, after we had breakfast, we decided to switch because I had a feeling we were going to stop again when we get closer to Chicago, and then I will drive us into downtown because we were staying in downtown Chicago. Usually whenever I visit Chicago, I stay in downtown because everything that we're doing is located in downtown. So as we're taking off, you know, I start to get real tired. Like, real tired. Literally, the sun is coming through the windows and it is that nice hot heat that you could just curl up and fall asleep. The AC's on you. I'm nice and full. As I'm falling asleep, like my spirit guides are reminding me, right? You need 2 people awake. Like, you need 2 people awake. And I'm like falling asleep and I'm like, you know, my niece is up. That's 2 people. My spirit guides are like, she does not count as one of the 2 people. And I'm like opening my eyes. And I was like, you know, I'm willing to test fate. Like, I was willing to test fate, you guys. I was getting real tired. And then my sister, she starts noticing I'm falling asleep. So she's asking me annoying questions. And I know she's just trying to help me stay awake, right? So I'm like trying to answer her, but it's like, you just don't have the energy to answer her. And then this probably goes on for about almost 2 hours, okay? So there was probably a moment where there's a good chance I fell asleep for like 30 seconds, okay? Because I was like, I'm done. Okay, like, there's 2 people awake. When my clinic are like, no, you need to stay awake. My sister's talking me to stay awake, and I'm just over it. No, like, and then finally something happens where, boom, I'm like wide awake suddenly. And then as we're heading out of Wisconsin into Illinois, I start to be like really wide awake and chirpy, and we're both talking. And then my sister admits to me, she was like, you know, for like 2 hours, I was getting real tired. And I was like, you know, I was getting real tired too. So, moral of the story, y'all, don't tempt fate, because had I just truly fallen asleep, she would have fallen asleep too, and we would have crashed, okay? So, you know, just don't tempt fate. And then the ride back, it was a lot easier staying up because there was just so much traffic, you know. I guess throughout the years, I hadn't realized, because in the past, I've always flown into Chicago. So, because I've given up on driving into Chicago. There is no money saving here, okay? Just fly in and do Uber when you're in Chicago, or rent a car. Because when you pay for parking, literally, it was like $69 a day for parking, and then it's $84 for valet. I was like, we might as well do valet at this point. But anyways. Yeah, like there is no real savings here, and you're paying for tolls, and tolls has gone down a lot. It was like $15, which was a really, really good deal. Okay, maybe $17 for the whole round trip. That was a really good deal. And we were going in and out of the suburbs of Chicago, in and on to the freeways. It was really good. It used to cost us $30, you know, round trip for tolls. So anyways, going on a tangent here. Thank goodness that I drove us, and we switched, and I drove us into downtown Chicago. You know, to me, it's not normal for, you know, like how there is the freeway, and then they have emergency lanes, you know, where you should only, the bypass area, it's only for like city buses, y'all, and for actual emergencies in your car. It's not normal to brake and you need to go into the emergency area because you're going to hit the car in front of you, okay? Like, that is how some people drive that I know of. I will say no names. And literally, this is how they always drive, okay? Like, and it got to the point where on the ride back, because there was so much traffic, I had to yell at her No names here, okay? I have to yell at her. You need to look ahead of the curve. You see the curve? When the car brakes 20 cars away, guess what? You're going to be braking too. You need to start paying attention because it was just really bad. And then eventually we switched off because I'm like, nope, I cannot do this with this girl. She does not know how to plan her spacing enough. Oh, anyways. So I drive us into downtown. And honestly, it's not even bad. It's literally like driving around here. And even though there was traffic, it was not stop and go. We were constantly moving, at least like 30 miles per hour. Sometimes it would drop to 20, but we were still moving. So it wasn't like we were just sitting there at a full stop waiting to go. So it was actually pretty good. And once you actually get into downtown, yes, you know, you have to remember there are millions of people who live in Chicago. There's going to be a lot more pedestrians crossing, a lot more cars. However, the number one tip I can give you is just focus on yourself. Okay, what are you trying to do? What is directly in front and beside you? Okay, don't focus on all of the constant motion that has nothing to do with you. Okay, like, I don't know how else to say it, because where our hotel was, we were near the Navy Pier. And when you get to the Navy Pier in Chicago, you tend to have a lot of the what only thing I could think of is the tunnels underneath, because there's ways to get through downtown Chicago. Either you're on the top part, you're above the tunnel, or you're under the tunnel. And then the tunnel, there's ways to get up again, okay? So I totally forgot that my younger sister, she sometimes gets really anxious from being claustrophobic. And I didn't even, because, you know, obviously I don't have this issue. So here we go in under the tunnel, you know, and we're driving in there, and it's very tight down there. And, you know, I have a big SUV, I have a Volkswagen. And my sister was literally like, we were turning and I'm driving, and then all of a sudden she's like freaking out next to me. And I'm like, what's wrong with you? And she was like, just thank God I'm not driving. I was like, thank God you're not driving. Because she's like hyperventilating. She needs to close her eyes because everything was too close to her. Thank God I was driving, because she would have just stopped and like not been able to drive, and we would have held up all the traffic. As far as like, I think I've done a video on this before. At least I feel like I have. So when you go into Chinatown, let's talk Chinatown. So in Chinatown, when you go into the shops, if you're somebody who can feel spiritual energy, even if you can see it, you will definitely feel it a lot in the shops, just because a lot of people who have shops down there, they still practice their own, it's like a spiritual religion. It's not like Christianity, and they have many shrines. So, you know, you will feel that those spirits there. It's very, very prevalent in their shops, right? You can feel it, and it feels very heavy when you're in the shops. However, at no point did I feel like I was in danger being in those shops. It was actually, it felt fine. You know, like as long as you're not there for ill intent and you're not there to hurt anybody, you're going to be totally fine, right? But you will feel the presence everywhere in those shops. And the further back I notice you go, the worse it tends to get. Now, are there ghosts and, you know, dark entities there? Yes, but you just mind your own business, okay? like I always tell people, like, I don't like to look at spirits in the eyes, because then they realize you can see them and they come to you because they want things, okay? They won't leave you alone because they want you to help them. And I'm here on vacation looking for boba. And we did go to a really cute boba place. It had all of these little miniature things on the walls. It was super, super stinking cute. They also had mochi donuts, which I did enjoy while I was there. And it was just nice to get away from the hot sun for a bit. It was absolutely terrible with the weather in Chicago, where it was so humid. Like the ends of my hair was dripping in sweat, because we were just so sweaty. So sweaty. And like as soon as we got back from the hotel, I just wanted to burn everything, like just take it all off of me, because it's like you had to shower and wash off so much because it was just disgusting outside. But then the last night before we left Chicago, it finally rained, and so then it finally lifted some of that humidity in the morning when we took off, and it wasn't bad at all. Now, as far as the ghosts in our hotel, because you know there's going to be a ghost in the hotel, it wasn't bad. Honestly, like, I, of course, chose my spot. Like, nope, this is my spot. And Molly was like giving me the dirty look. She knew there's a reason I chose the spot I did. And I was like, this is my spot. And the entity stayed away from me the entire time. Once my shrine is up now, a lot of entities, they just stay away. So this entity, though, I saw it several times in our hotel room, and it was hanging out by the door. But unfortunately, you know, I have a sister who has a spirit guide who likes to talk to a lot of things. What are you doing here? Literally all night. That's all she was doing. She was talking to it constantly. And I'm just minding my own business. I slept really good at the hotel. So in general, I had a really good time in Chicago, but I generally really, really like Chicago. If I could live anywhere else, it would be in downtown Chicago. I absolutely love the environment. Just the amount of people that are out and about. Like, I love that chaos. To other people, it might be chaos, but to me, I just feel so motivated, and I love having people running around everywhere. But I realize that I'm more of an East Coast kind of girl, where I like that kind of super busy, congested city life rather than the West Coast. I am not a West Coast girl, I have discovered. And definitely I'm here in the Midwest because of family. Okay, definitely it's usually because of family. That's why you're living here. When I was younger, I did contemplate on leaving, but I was so focused on my career, and so it was hard for me to give up my career, which thankfully I never did, because it set me up to where I needed to be in my life. But if I ever could, I would love to live in downtown Chicago. That's my life. New York is a bit too expensive for me. Okay. Now, before I go, I wanted to share with you guys a recent ceremony that I did. This past summer, definitely, I'm doing a lot of ceremonies. And then in September, I'm going to Fresno. So while I'm out in Fresno doing a ceremony, I'm also going to be visiting my family there. So I'm super excited about that. However, oh yeah, and then I'm going to Vegas later on this year too. So I'm pretty much going to be really exhausted. That's just been my life lately. I had another shaman who came in, and she was looking at me and she was like, how do you do this? And I was like, very carefully. You know, like at work, I've started returning to the office. So my staff and I were returning hybrid back into the office. So then I'm up at 5:45 in the morning, and I typically don't get home until 9 p.m. at night. So it is just, you know, like it's funny because I don't feel exhausted with the Nang stuff. Like, right after work, I'm coming to my office here and I'm doing sessions and services for people. I don't feel exhausted from that. What I'm exhausted from is getting up so early to go into the office, and it takes a lot of energy talking to everyone all day, especially because a lot of us haven't seen each other in years, especially all being in the office. So there's a lot more in-person talking, hanging out with people, and that is definitely more draining. But it's funny because then whenever I come directly from the office and then I come to my office here, I'm always dressed in my work clothes. I don't always look that nice, you guys. Usually, you know, I got my anxiety, my crazy possum anxiety shirt on. I'm dressed like very casual usually when I'm here. But whenever I come back from the office, because when I'm in the office, I dress very business casual. Or like my sister says, professional. She was like, you don't dress business casual, Tassie. I don't know what that is. I only know how to dress the way that I do for work. So that's why a lot of people, if you ever come in and for your session and you see me, I'm dressed up nicer. It's because I just got back from work. So you know, my days are very long, and I literally went to Target yesterday and I dropped like $200. And it's because, you know, I don't have that time anymore to go to the stores as much as I used to. I used to shop a lot. Now it's harder for me to get all my shopping in just because I'm always at work or I'm always working. So it's hard for me to get my regular errands done. It's different when I tell my boyfriend specifically what to buy, but I'm the kind of person where I like to browse and see it in front of me before I actually purchase. And that's why I over purchase, because I didn't know this came out. I want to try this. So I'm that kind of person. So literally it's just tons and tons and tons of snacks and drinks, because now I'm bringing some of this to work as well. So it's just, it's a lot. Like, I feel like I don't have enough time in my day to get much done. Because then as soon as I'm done at 9 o'clock here, I'm racing home to take and wash off everything. And I'm just trying to race myself to bed, because then I got to get up again at 5:45. But thankfully my insomnia is over. So it has been going pretty smooth with that. And generally, I'm not going to lie, I like being in the office. It's nice. It's nice to be very productive. Oh my gosh. Because really quick, you guys, the second day I realized I lost a lot of my water weight, because, you know, when you're working remotely, you don't go anywhere, right? You don't move much. But when you're in the office, you are giving tours left and right. The office space is huge. To get to the cafeteria, it is a mile walk, okay? Like, it's not, but it feels like a mile walk. It is probably half a mile, okay? Every single time to get to the cafeteria. It is quite the stretch. And then walking from the parking ramp, going into the building, going to the 5th floor. It's just a lot, you guys. So I'm just really exhausted. But I will say, on Sunday here, I was like resting a lot, you know, like I woke up at 7 in the morning, and then I forced myself to go back to bed. And then I woke up again at 10 a.m. I forced myself to go back to bed. I woke up at noon. Okay. So I feel real good today. But then I have to remember to do dates with my boyfriend. So, you know, because now he really doesn't see me as much. And he was telling me that he misses me, just because he was so used to having my presence around, even though I was coming here in the evenings. Now I'm gone when he wakes up. I'm not there at all. And I don't come back until like 9 o'clock at night. So he's really noticing my presence not being there. So we're definitely focusing more on doing dates to spend more time with each other, just because he doesn't have that luxury anymore. He kept trying to get me to go watch the new Deadpool movie. And I'm just like, please go with your friends. Because if you try to get me to watch a Deadpool movie, tell you what, I'm going to fall asleep. Okay, it's a dark theater. It's cold in there. I'm in a comfy chair. I don't have enough sleep as it is. I'm going to knock out. Okay, so... But today I feel super refreshed. And so later on this evening, we actually have dinner date plans, and then we're going to watch a movie together. So definitely I need to carve out more time in my life for everybody. And in case you're wondering, the reason why my office is not open on Fridays is because Fridays is really the only time I'm going to have with my friends and family. And then Saturdays, usually I unang in the morning. So then on the evenings of Saturdays, I have the time to myself. Sundays is really my days of recouping all of my energy, doing laundry, trying to get what errands done I can. However, usually plans with family and friends overlap onto Sundays. Sometimes I have to go out and hooply for people on Sundays as well, but usually that's just in the morning, and it's only for a few hours if they're using a chicken. So it's a lot, you guys, but it's definitely really, really good for myself, just trying to get into the groove of everything. I don't have a lot of time. If you're wondering how do I do it, I'm used to being so busy, I work myself into exhaustion. That's the reality. And the thing is, when you're somebody who is used to operating at that level, you don't know what to do with yourself when you have too much time. When you have too much time, for somebody who is used to being super, super constantly running, constantly having something to do, always behind on something, it's unsettling, because you're like, you're missing something. Something's wrong. Like, you don't, like, maybe that's a form of depression. Like, I don't know what it is, but I need to constantly be on the go, because then if I have too much time, I get, you know, like, I become the jack of all trades with a bunch of hobbies. I just don't know how to sit still. That's really the bottom line. Okay, really quick before I leave. So I went to go and do a ceremony recently, and it was really interesting, because these are like the firsters that have ever happened to me. Like, it's the first time. Like, I didn't realize they could do this. So I went to go and do a ceremony, and the negotiation was for one person and their child. So we were taking care of all this stuff for them. And then we always cleanse the home to make sure that the home it's nice and whole, and so that way the spirits will stay and everything. But there is another person who lives here. Okay, so the person who lives here also has very dark entities on them, and it got to the point where we were cleansing the house, and then we were going to go into the room where that person was, and there was a woman standing there, and she's staring me down like this is a showdown. We're about to go at it. And then I'm like, well, what am I supposed to do here? And my client are like, you can't touch her. And I'm like, what do you mean? Like, we're cleansing the house. We got to get rid of her. And they were like, no, that's not part of the deal. We're not taking care of her. So I'm like, great. And she closes the door. Like, she's literally looking at me and just closes the door in my face. I'm like, are you... Yeah, so there was nothing I could do about that because that is a dark entity attached to that individual, and I can't get rid of it, right? Because that's not part of the deal. So that really sucked. And then there was another incident of basically the person's fate. There was something that they wanted me to do, and I had to decide on their fate because this individual, so the parents, they're not together, they're separated. And it got to the point where I totally forgot. I didn't even think of it. My spirit guides took me to that person's other home and cleansed it as well. And then my spirit guides asked me, where do I want to put her spirit? Because whoever I put it with, certain things will happen based off of, like there's variances, right? And the person's parent was not around for me to ask them, who do you want me to put them with? Like they were running around doing things for the ceremony. And I'm like, shoot. And I'm like sitting there and I'm like, and my spirit guides are like, come on, you need to make a decision. You need to leave a spirit specifically with one family. And I'm just like, and then I made the decision on where to leave them. But there are repercussions with these kind of things, right? So definitely in my next video, I want to talk to you guys about repercussions during ceremonies, because I know I've touched on it with other videos too, where I've talked about a lot of the old ways, like the old shamans, they will just make the decision for you. Like, you don't get a say in this. However, I don't feel like I should make that decision for you, So whenever it comes to a point where my spirit guides, they want to cut something off, right? Because you got to remember, what was the negotiation? What are you trying to accomplish here? What did you tell my spirit guides and me what you want? They will do it. However, there are repercussions. Like when we go into the spirit world and I start to see you could have had different fates with other people, but my spirit guides want me to cut it off. Like, what do I do? So I'm not that kind of shaman who will just make that decision. And my lineage, we do not believe in locking up spirit guides. So sometimes I will tell people that I can't do ceremonies for you, because if I do and I go in there, I'm going to face your spirit guides and they're going to want to come down, and I can't do that, because the only other option then is to lock them up, and I do not lock up spirit guides. So I either bring them down and then you get all crazy because you don't have a teacher yet, but your spirit guides are with you. So there's like a lot. There is a lot that goes into the spirit world, and if you're not careful, like that just doesn't sit well with me whenever I do ceremonies. So with ceremonies, I always do a full recap. Everything I saw, everything I did, everything I heard, everything that they asked of me, and what did we do, so that you clearly understand what happened during the ceremony. So that usually happens as soon as I get down from, as soon as I get down, then I go in hooply, and then I will give you a full recap of everything that happened during the ceremony. But that is why the individuals need to be near the shaman when they are doing an actual ceremony, because at different points in time, the shaman will come across paths that you need to make a decision for the individual. And I cannot make it for you, okay? I just won't. I'm sorry if you rather I did it for you and just didn't tell you, but I can't because there are repercussions to it. And that will be in my next video on generally what I do with my ceremonies, just because I'm aware of the repercussions, but you as an individual who don't know better, you may not be aware. So until next time, you guys.